The Grand River Hotel glimmered like a palace made of light. Crystals hung like frozen rain from the chandeliers, and mirrors reflected hundreds of faces dressed in their finest. The laughter of the wealthy filled the air, hollow, polite, practiced. For many, tonight was a celebration. For Layla, it was just another night at work. Balancing a tray of champagne glasses, she moved quietly between tables, her steps soundless against the marble floor. She smiled when expected, bowed when required, and disappeared into the crowd like smoke. Her uniform was crisp, perfectly fitted, too perfect for someone invisible. Her dark hair was gathered neatly in a bun, her eyes lowered, but behind them burned a quiet, unspoken fire. No one knew the world that lived behind that calm smile. No one asked. Layla was used to being unseen, but beneath her collar, just over her heart, hung a small pendant, a blue stone, shimmering faintly even under the heavy hotel lights. It was her only possession that truly belonged to her, and the only secret she guarded fiercely. From the stage, Vanessa Stewart surveyed the crowd. She was elegance incarnate, tall, poised, wrapped in confidence that came from a lifetime of power. A philanthropist, a name that made headlines, a woman used to applause. Her speech tonight was about generosity, about helping children in need. Cameras flashed, people nodded, and champagne glasses sparkled. Yet as she scanned the hall, her gaze froze. A small blue pendant glimmered just below the collar of a young waitress, the same pendant she had last seen in a crib 22 years ago. Her heart skipped. For a moment, the world seemed to slow. The music softened, the laughter dimmed, the air grew heavy. Vanessa's hand trembled, as memories she had buried clawed their way back. The hospital room, the soft cry of her newborn, and the endless years of searching after the baby was taken. Her eyes locked onto Layla. Layla felt the stare before she saw it. That kind of gaze had a weight, sharp, searching, almost desperate. She turned, confused, meeting Vanessa's eyes across the glittering hall. It was like looking into a mirror of another life. A sudden wave of déjà vu washed over her. She couldn't place it. A smell, a sound, something familiar buried deep within her memory. The pendant around her neck seemed to pulse, as if it too remembered. The chatter in the hall began to fade, replaced with murmurs. Phones lifted discreetly. The crowd sensed something, an invisible thread stretching between the two women. Layla's hands trembled. She placed the tray on the nearest table and tried to steady herself. Her breathing quickened. Fragments of memory began to flash in her mind. White lights, cold walls, a voice calling baby, and the feeling of being carried away. Then darkness. Her knees weakened. Someone whispered, "That pendant, isn't that—" The music stopped completely. The grand door swung open. An elderly woman stepped inside, wrapped in a worn brown coat, her shoes damp from the cold outside. Eleanor. Her appearance drew curious glances. She didn't belong in this glittering world, but her eyes, warm and steady, went straight to Layla. "Layla," she whispered, tears trembling in her voice. "It's okay, child. I'm here." The guests moved aside as she walked forward, her old hands trembling slightly. She stopped a few feet away from Vanessa, whose face had turned pale as porcelain. And between them stood Layla, frozen, confused, trembling. Vanessa's voice broke the silence. "Where did you get that pendant?" she demanded, though her tone was fragile beneath the command. Layla touched the stone instinctively. It was with me, since I can remember." Eleanor's eyes softened. "It was the only thing she had when I found her. She was just a little girl, alone, crying, whispering one word, 'Mom.'" A murmur rippled through the crowd. Vanessa took a step forward, her eyes glistening. "That pendant was mine. It belonged to my daughter. She was taken from me." Layla's breath caught in her throat. "Your daughter?" Vanessa nodded, tears now freely falling. "They never found her. For 22 years, I've kept searching. That pendant is the only piece that ever came back." Layla shook her head slowly, disbelief flooding her. "No, that can't be. My mother is—" She turned to Eleanor, who stood silent, her face filled with sorrow. "I never lied to you," she whispered. "I only wanted you to feel safe, to have a home. I couldn't tell you the truth because I was afraid you'd be taken away again." The weight of the revelation hit Layla like a storm. Two women, both mothers in their own way, both staring at her and waiting. And she had no idea who she really was. Vanessa extended a trembling hand. "We can find out for sure," she said softly. "A test. We'll know the truth." Layla looked at the hand. at the expensive rings and perfectly manicured nails, symbols of a life she could never imagine. Then she looked at Eleanor. Worn hands, eyes lined by years of love and struggle. The hall was silent, hundreds of eyes watching. But in that silence, Layla heard only her heartbeat. She thought of all the years she had spent wondering who she was, where she came from. The empty space inside her that no work, no money, no kindness could ever fill. And now, here she was, standing between two lives. Layla took a deep breath. I need time, she said quietly. All my life, I've been living in other people's stories. Tonight, I think it's time to start writing my own. Vanessa's tears fell silently. Eleanor lowered her head, her lips trembling.
That night, Layla sat by the river outside the hotel. The city lights danced on the water, and the pendant glowed faintly under the moon. Her thoughts ran wild, childhood dreams, broken memories, flashes of fear and tenderness. She remembered Eleanor's lullabies, the way she held her during nightmares, the taste of soup on cold nights. And yet, deep down, there had always been a voice whispering that something was missing, a voice she could never silence. Now she knew why. A single tear slipped down her cheek. "Who am I?" she whispered to the river. "Layla, or the girl Vanessa lost?" A gentle wind brushed her face, as if answering, "You are both, and neither. You are yourself." The realization struck her like sunlight breaking through clouds. Her identity didn't belong to bloodlines or birth certificates. It belonged to the choices she made, to the love she gave, to the woman she had become despite everything. A few days later, Layla agreed to meet Vanessa and Eleanor privately. No cameras, no crowd, just three women bound by a story none of them had chosen. Vanessa spoke first. "I've spent my whole life trying to save others," she said quietly, "but I couldn't save my own child. Every charity gala, every orphanage I built, it was all to fill the hole she left." Eleanor reached out gently. "You did what you could. We all did." Layla looked between them. "You both gave me something different. One gave me life, the other gave me a reason to live." Vanessa's voice trembled. "If the test proves it, if you truly are my daughter, will you come home?" Layla smiled softly. "I don't need a test to know that I already have a home, but maybe I can have two." The women fell silent, each processing her words. Then, slowly, Vanessa stood and walked toward Eleanor. For a moment, both mothers faced each other, past and present, pain and forgiveness, and then, almost instinctively, they embraced. Tears flowed freely, and in that embrace, Layla saw not loss, but love finding its way through the cracks of years gone by. Weeks later, Layla returned to the Grand River Hotel, not as a waitress, but as a guest of honor. Vanessa had insisted on holding a quiet dinner, not for the press, not for spectacle, but for healing. The same chandelier sparkled, but the light felt different, softer, warmer. Layla stood at the edge of the hall, her blue pendant catching the light. Eleanor sat at a nearby table, smiling proudly. Vanessa stood beside her, a hand resting gently on Layla's shoulder. In her heart, there was still confusion, still pain, but now there was also peace. The pendant no longer symbolized loss. It had become something more, a sign of choice, of freedom, of identity reclaimed. Layla turned to the crowd, many of the same faces from that unforgettable night, and spoke softly. "Sometimes we search for truth in others, but the real truth lives in us. It's in the scars we carry, in the people who love us, and in the courage to face who we are, even when it hurts." The hall was silent. Then gentle applause began. Not loud, not grand, but sincere. Vanessa wiped her tears. Eleanor smiled through hers. Layla felt her chest lighten, as if a weight had finally lifted. For the first time, she wasn't the invisible girl in the background. She wasn't a shadow anymore. She was Layla, whole, seen, and free.